Alrighty, good morning, Internet, once again. So, yesterday we talked in pretty good detail about my thoughts and opinions on Black Ops 6. And from here on out, I think we're going to start covering other venues of a similar topic because I think that there's a lot to uh, break down from the past couple years of zombies. This is, I kind of want to call it an outsider looking in because, like I mentioned in my last video, I actually haven't played anything past maybe Black Ops 4. And Black Ops 4 I didn't really play a whole lot of because I wasn't too thrilled with the experience, which I'm sure a lot of people could also relate to. But we're talking more today about Cold War and Black Ops 6, specifically on the zombies portion. I might go into other, like if I go on a tangent or something, I might talk about other things in the games because I have recently played like a snippet of Cold War. I haven't played any Black Ops 6, I haven't tried the beta or anything. I'm just going to wait for it to come out and see if it's worth my time, watch a few videos, and then if I like what I see, maybe I'll buy the game, maybe not, we'll see. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about magic and zombies. And it's a very interesting subject because there is and isn't magic in zombies. And I'm speaking more specifically about like the beginning when the story was kind of like on a rough draft or like a fresh canvas, and things were slowly but surely being like implemented and hinted in the way the story was being written. Because at the beginning, Nocturne, Toten, and Verrucht, we didn't really have a story. We just had a handful of random U.S. Marines in German locations. Then Shinonuma happened, and we got our characters, and then from there we got Doris, and Doris is where our story really started making more sense. Because we got the radios, we got ciphers, um, generally, like having a Group 935 location uh, was probably like the first thing that got us off the rocker with it. So from that point forward, from I want to say Shinonuma onward, because also Shinonuma did have radios. I almost forgot about that, but from Shinonuma forward, we got story implementation. Now, in the beginning, it was less about um, like mysticism and magic and uh, you know, necromancy and like satanic rituals and stuff. That wasn't really a part of zombies for a long time. I'd say Black Ops 2 ish, a little bit of Black Ops 1 is probably where we started delving more into a magical construct because, um, or not construct, concept. I'm gonna jabble with my words a little bit. So if I say something that doesn't sound like it makes sense, sorry in advance. I do that a lot. But magic and zombies didn't really start happening, in my personal opinion, until I want to say Moon ish. Shangri La kind of had a little bit to do with it, with like the eclipse and going back in time and stuff. But that was more of like a that was a magic being used in a conspiracy sort of way, which was a little bit more cooler than just breaking open a book and casting spells or having a summoning key or, like the Cronorium or Apothecons and stuff like that. I feel like, and we're going to get to that soon, but I feel like that is probably where the story started going in a different direction for me. Um, a lot of people shit on Green Run and what Black Ops 2 was for the most part. And it's kind of weird because looking back at it, I think that the Green Run maps had some of the worst gameplay. I mean, Transit is notoriously horrible. So much so that it has notoriety for being the best worst map. But afterwards, you have like your smaller versions. You have Nuketown, then you have Die Rise, and then Buried. So Buried is probably the cream of the crop for me. I think Buried has the best gameplay. Uh, Die Rise is, I'm not gonna call it underrated, but it's not Transit. Though we're not talking about gameplay yet, we're still talking about story. The reason why I'm talking about these maps is because I have a very weird opinion about Black Ops 2 Zombies maps. I think the worst maps have the better story, and the better maps have not the worst story, but like in terms of the value to the writing scheme that Zombies typically has, I'd say they were a little out of proportion. And those two are Mob of the Dead and Origins. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that if a lot of people ever watch this. It's probably the perks of being a small YouTuber is my opinions are always correct because nobody has any other opinions to share if they don't see your videos. So, why do I say this? Why do I have this weird opinion about these better maps with weirder stories? And my reason for saying that is because they involve things that were typically not in the zombies writing before. Um, we had in Mob of the Dead, it had a lot to do with like satanic rituals and purgatory and, um, just a lot of weird themes and stuff like that. And like that's not to say that the story was bad. Okay, the story was really good. I love the story of Mob of the Dead and, the whole theme behind the writing is just really good in my opinion. Um, and I mean that's not just my opinion. I know a lot of people love Mob of the Dead for the kind of story it tells. I think Blood of the Dead, not to jump all the way to Black Ops 4, but I think Blood of the Dead really ruined the story because it was better, in my opinion, with the way it was written between Al staying in purgatory with Sal, Finn, and I don't remember the name of the other guy. What was it? Sal, Finn, and um, what was the name of the meathead from that? I'm trying to remember. There's Weasel, Sal, Finn, and I don't remember his name. If somebody could leave it in the comments, I'd appreciate it. Billy. It was Billy. Okay, no, I got it. Sal, Finn, Billy, and Weasel. There we go. See, I'm every bit as invested as you guys. But I think Blood of the Dead really ruined that concept because in my opinion it was cooler to have the story end in one of two ways where like one the cycle continued or two the cycle was broken because Weasel was no longer stuck in hell with the rest of the gang. Blood of the Dead kind of took that and made it this, like, oh, everybody is free kind of ending. And it was like, it was better when it was more grittier. Not to say that the map itself lost its grit from Black Ops 4, but more like the writing was lighter as a result of giving everybody a get out of jail free card in the end. Um, and I think just bringing back Mob of the Dead as a map setting in general is just a really dumb idea, but that's what happens when you have lazy development. Getting sidetracked though for like the second time. Um, from Mob of the Dead and Origins, what we get are themes that aren't or weren't typically in Call of Duty already. Um, I mean, there were slight hints of, like Satanism in COD Zombies with like the concept of something controlling the zombies. A lot of people in the earlier days of speculation thought it was, like the devil controlling the zombies because they're also like hellhounds and stuff like that. But when Doris came in and clarified that bad things happened to Sam and her dog Fluffy, Fluffy helped explain hellhounds. We didn't really hear anything about Samantha until. Actually, no, because the Flytrap Easter egg introduces that Samantha is still alive. And from that point forward, speculation came in. And it was later confirmed that Samantha was controlling the zombies. So, I'd say that's kind of like the jumble right there, is that from Doris to Moon, we have hints of greater, like higher presences in zombies, given that Sam is in the MPD, which is like the entrance to Agartha. I think it's Agartha. I'm not 110% certain. But uh, from Moon forward, we have the whole Green Run experience. And Green Run was relatively okay with its, like storytelling and stuff like that because it was the aftermath. I feel like it probably could have been done better, and Zelensky kind of had an Icarus moment when he was making Green Run because that whole thing, or I guess they call it Invictus as well. The whole Invictus thing with Transit was basically like the hardware limitations on the consoles at the time. Zelensky didn't really think that the way he was making the maps would have been too much, but they were. So I feel like if Zelensky was a little bit more smaller scale with his concepts, we probably would have gotten better gameplay as a result of that. And the story has nothing to do with the gameplay, which was nice. We had um, Easter eggs were still baked underneath, and we still had that surface of gameplay level like we were talking about yesterday, where story writing and storytelling does not impact the gameplay unless you want it to. At that point, you're doing Easter eggs, you're listening to radios, you maybe even activating, excuse me, the Easter egg song. So let's talk about where magic gets heavier in zombies, and that is going to start with Origins, because Origins has, even though it's just a well, as of Black Ops 2, it is just a game being played by Sam and Eddie. But afterwards in Black Ops 3 is when Origins really becomes canon because we have continuations and follow-ups with the 2.0 characters, or well, they also call them I don't remember what they call them because their names for all of them. I remember them personally as um, the 1.0 characters, which were like Road at War through Black Ops 1, Green Run, which was the hillbilly gang in Black Ops 2, and then the 2.0 characters are Origins and Black Ops 3 and onward, but they also called them like Invictus and Ultimus, and I think Primus. Primus was the 2.0 ones. So the Primus characters at the beginning of Black Ops 2 imitated magic staves and broke into some extra dimension to um, use the imitation staves to ascend into Agartha or something like that. And at the end, it was revealed that Sam and Eddie were just playing a game, and then the siren goes off, and from there, uh, I had assumed when I first saw that siren going off and Max is coming on the intercom to tell Samantha to close the windows with the dog in the room and her and this other kid named Eddie, who I didn't at the time make the correlation to Richtofen. And I thought in my mind that that was like right before Maxis did the testing on the teleporters, and he was go. That was like the night of when they were going to use Fluffy as the teleporter test subject. But actually, what it really was I think it was right before Revelation when the Primus crew came from Gorod with the souls and the summoning key. I sound like a this all to anybody who has never played Call of Duty Zombies sounds a lot like a 3 a.m. History Channel kind of thing. And you're absolutely right if you think that's what it is, because it's exactly what it sounds like. Um, at any rate, what we got from Black Ops 3 forward, Shadows of Evil. Shadows of Evil was a good map, but I think it's the first map that started changing that scale value that we talked about yesterday, where we had story and gameplay. So, with everything baked a little bit lower than the gameplay level, story was kind of coming a little higher, because at this point, I'd really say that ever since Black Ops 2, like with Transit and all that, um, people started becoming familiar with Easter eggs being in the maps, and everybody knew that there was an underlying process of steps to get this extra bit of story. Like the in a gameplay sense, it was also like the bonuses, like when you complete an Easter egg and it gives you every perk, or when it gives you a wonder weapon or something like that. Um, that was pretty much bread and butter for Call of Duty Moon and afterwards. So I'd say it like Easter egg processes started with Moon and then continued becoming more of a natural thing to add into zombies maps. Well, why this is important with Shadows of Evil is because this is the first time where I feel like the the story elements are closer to the surface level gameplay, because we still had our round based formula. We still had, starter weapons, wall weapons, no weapon tiers like in Cold War with like the different rarities, and we didn't have salvage or scrap. But um, the map was littered with all kinds of things to do. And that wasn't just a gameplay thing, because a lot of these things also needed to be done for the Easter egg. For example, the map's form of turning on the power, uh, very akin to Mob of the Dead, which you activate this rune to become this tentacle Cthulhu creature, which I don't want to knock on the writing elements, because I think that Shadows of Evil is written beautifully with its whole intertwining of um, like Cthulhu mythology and H.P. Lovecraft. That is all really cool stuff. and it gives me a lot of like, if you've ever played Call of Cthulhu on like tabletop before with like a group of buddies, it reminds me a lot of that, and it's really cool. But my problem is that I feel like it was too much for what we had with Call of Duty Zombies at the time. Origins kind of set a groundwork for that with the artificial staves and the crazy place and Templar Knights and all this different stuff. That was really cool in concept. But what I feel like personally is that it was kind of like the beginning of the end in a way, and it's perfectly written if that's the case, because Origins is like the origin of things, and that would be the beginning. Revelation would be the end, and why I feel like that's kind of like synonymous with what I'm trying to say is because Origins was the origin of the writing going downhill, and Revelation was kind of like the byproduct of that. So, what we ended up getting from having magic and zombies with Shadows of Evil was things having a lot less to do with the conspiracy theory nature that Call of Duty Zombies was known for. And we're going to go into that in a separate video because that is a on my little notebook of like headlines to talk about. Conspiracy theories are a separate little like tab that I have here, and I'm going to make that a video subject of its own. So I'm going to breeze through the magic section a little bit more, even though there's a lot of detail. I'm going to try my best to be detailed about it, but I've already surpassed the 21 minute, going on 22 actually, of the recording. So we're gonna try to do as much as we can. So Shadows of Evil introduced a very like dark magic, kind of like Cthulhu oriented um, writing scheme and this takes place in a completely separate dimension from what I understand. Like Morgue City, not Night City. Morgue City is some kind of purgatory created by the Shadow Man, and it has a lot to do with like the Mob of the Dead themes with like these four sinners who've done horrible things are cursed to relive this awful night of the undead, and like squids flying everywhere and shit like that. And then right at the end of the Easter egg with these keepers and like ancient evil and all this different stuff just kind of like being prevalent. Richtofen just comes out of nowhere and he's like, I'm gonna borrow this, yoink, I'm gone. And then from that point forward, I feel like that's where things got a little weird, because we get to the giant, and at the time it was just like, oh, they're trying to fix the timeline so that the world is normal. And that is what it is. It was right on the money to assume that. It's just the way that they were doing it was weird. Really weird. Just, like with the whole souls and the summoning key and, like magic, and I, I that's pretty much the summary of the video is COD zombies got weird when magic was involved. And that's really what it is. It wasn't really like submersible in its sense of, I don't know what you would really call it. It's kind of like a pulp fiction where it has realistic themes, but it has underlying unrealistic themes. And that lack of being able to mix the non-fiction elements with the fiction fictitious elements made it feel less of what it was and more of what it wasn't. I think that sounds absolutely stupid in my head, but that's more or less the general setting, because from there forward, we had the Reisendruck, Zetsubo no Shima. Zetsubo no Shima was hands down one of my favorite maps in terms of like the story and the writing and the themes and all that, because that's the one time where I feel like the Cthulhu setting actually worked. And I think like the backstory behind it with Division 9 and its real world counterpart with like the Japanese in World War II experimenting with biology and stuff like that. That was a really cool twist, and I really liked that. I think that Horizon Track could have had a better pitch as a map setting if it was more focused on the German World War II elements than it was about like the overarching story that Black Ops 3 had to do with. Revelations is hands down my least favorite Black Ops 3 map. I feel like it was just I feel like it was just like a fan service emporium, and all of the weird like space Cthulhu, like end of the world stuff that was going on in there. They also introduced Dr. Monty, and it started feeling like this whole like Marvel movie kind of thing where it was like nonchalant creator of the universe kind of stuff, and like I don't know. It was at that point weird to witness. At the time it was cool because you didn't know what was going to happen next, but looking back at it now, I really think they could have gone in a different direction with the writing. Maybe that'll be a video subject of its own, how I feel like they should have written after Black Ops 2. But we'll see. Black Ops 4, I mean, that's kind of like everything's in the cards right there. I think at that point, the ending was what I wanted from Black Ops 3, but as beautifully written as the ending to Black Ops 4 is, that it tries to tie up as many loose ends as possible, I think that it really could have gotten there sooner, which I feel like that's what Jason Blundell really wanted, because in Revelations, we got the ending which brought the whole thing together and tied it up right at the end, and we got this nice loop of history repeating itself. Black Ops 4 takes its first note instance from the halfway point, or maybe more like the three-quarters point, at Zetsubo no Shima, where they go to a different place, which is Blood of the Dead, and continue a whole nother thing from there. But at that point, we get to the last map in Black Ops 4, which I don't remember the name of, and that's where the story ends, because Nikolai takes over for the crew, and the Kronorian basically tells him, just end everything. Like, everybody involved in this entire multi-dimensional mess needs to die so that there's no more universal constants to be pulled from here, and we can just clean the slate and end this whole thing. Basically, the universe implodes on itself, and the original timeline is no more. It's from that point forward, Cold War and Black Ops 6, that I feel like things got so out of hand to the point that it just drove me away from even trying to play the games, to understand what was going on. Die Machine was pretty cool. when it was, like first introduced, because they added like these horror elements. You're walking around with a flashlight. You were, like in the dark. Nocturne Totem was back, which, I mean, it's already been back like five different times in the story, but it was cool to say the least to see that all. And we didn't really know too much about what was going on from the trailers when it first came out, but as soon as we started hopping through portals and going to other dimensions and having weird purple glow in the dark jellyfish flying through the sky, that's when it was done for me. That's when I just did not want anything to do with it anymore. Um, there was the whole Chernobog thing too, like the big tall dude with the heavy arm on the one side, and I think it was cool for that to be involved because it was similar to the Apothicons, but it was distant, and I think it was cool that it was distant. It was creepy and kind of like an analog horror sort of thing, but when they directly got involved in Firebase Z and you started fighting a giant Chernobog Titan thing, and then you also had like the um, weird alien, I think they were called like mimics in it, but it was like the big dudes with the glowing purple mouths and like the big hands and shit. When I started seeing shit that looked like Margwas from Black Ops 3, that's when I said, okay, they've officially gone right back to where they started and even moved past it to some extent. I mean, we didn't end up in space like in Revelations. We didn't end up in like the whole, like multi-dimensional floating rocks everywhere, giant blue sun type shit, but we did end up in a dimension where, like I said, like big purple glowing jellyfish and shit flying all over the place, and that's just, to me, that's where I feel like it just, I didn't want it to make sense anymore. Because I feel like they were just tearing the story apart at that point. And then now in Black Ops 6, we have Richtofen coming back, and Samantha's still alive, and, like, I don't know what to make of it anymore. I don't know. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some homework for myself, and I'm going to start looking into the Cold War storyline because I want Cold War to make more sense to me so that when I come to you guys with my notebook and now 33 minutes of nonstop discussion, me having a full on, like topic discussion with my Pixel 2 about Call of Duty Zombies, I want to have more to bring to the table so that I understand more about what's going on with shit past Black Ops 4. So, that's going to be my homework. As for you guys, let me know about your thoughts on Black Ops 6, how you think the story is, and if you're excited for it. Let me know how you guys feel about the way they're doing the story so far. Uh, Let me know like, what your favorite story from the overarching plot of, like, the series so far has been, because I think that helps me understand too what people want from the story, because I'm just kind of telling you guys what I want from the story. I want to know what you guys want from the story too, because this is a game that's shared by everybody and played by everybody and experienced by everybody. So I want to know what people want from it. Just like, I know what I want from it, I want to know what you guys want from it too. So that may help me understand a little bit more better, because everything that I've written down right over here is what I think. It's not, like what is fact. And I just kind of want to share how I feel about everything going on with the game so far. And maybe have some enlightening moments, or maybe have a different opinion help me see things in a better clarity. So that being the case, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. And, yeah. Okay. I got to get better at my outros, but thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.